Bright and early right here on Channels Television. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
And I'm Kaido Kikulu. It's Thursday. Just one more day to go this week. It's February the 19th, 2026. You're welcome. What a day yesterday. Finally, the Electoral Act is now within 2026, signed in record time by President Bola Tinubu just a day after it was passed at the National Assembly. You think that maybe the lawmakers just drove through the back gate of the National Assembly to Aso Rock Villa? Maybe they did. And there you have it. We're going to be showing you the moment where President Bola Tinubu signed the Electoral Act into law. Yes, sir.
What is crucial is the fact that you manage the process to the extent there will be no confusion, no disenfranchisement of Nigerians, and that we are all going to see democracy flourish. It is time that we have confidence in our system. No matter how good a system is, it's managed by the people, promoted by the people, and the result is finalized by the people. In fact, for final results, you are not going to be talking to the computer, you are going to be talking to human beings who will announce the final results. And when you look at the crux of various arguments, maybe Nigeria should question our broadband capability. How technically are we today? How technically will we be tomorrow to answer the call of either real time or no? And we need to avoid glitches. I'm glad you did. Interference, unnecessary hacking in this age of, computer inquisitiveness. Nigeria will be there. We will flourish. We will continue to nurture this democracy for the fulfillment of our dream for prosperity and stability of our country.
There you have it, President Bola Tinubu speaking during the signing of the amended Electoral Act. Now, this is against the backdrop of the contention around the proviso that was added for the electronic transmission of results. And that's the president speaking. Well, the Senate president also spoke. The Speaker of the House of Reps spoke after that event yesterday. So what is the way forward now? A few routes for those who still insist that it must be electronic transmission and no proviso. Well, if we have to tweak that section, then it has to go through the process of lawmaking yet again. So there has to be an amendment now to this recently amended Electoral Act, and it goes through the process. Obviously, maybe not an executive bill. It has to be introduced by a member of the House of Representatives. Member of the National Assembly. That's one route. The second route, if that is too long, because we're just counting down to elections, the second route is to then wait for election day to then implement this properly. Don't forget that INEC's guidelines have to come out on just how this will be prosecuted. Now, that is one other thing to look out for. Let us see how INEC is going to treat this? What will be the guidelines for the electoral officers on the day? Will they be mandated to take the picture from EC80 just right after the election is conducted and the results are written out? Will the guidelines mandate them? That's something to look out for, because that is a loophole that can be exploited. But hey, it's either you amend, wait for INEC, and wait for election day to properly implement this law as Nigerians. But Jeffrey, it has become already.
I think the Senate President also made comments after that signing. So maybe we'll take a listen to the Senate President as well.
We are satisfied that we have met the aspiration of Nigerians. That the issue of real time also comes in. Once you transmit, even if there's no network at that time, once you go to where there's network, it will still drop. So eventually everything will still be shown. So we are happy and satisfied that we have been able to interpret the intentions and the yearnings of majority of Nigerians, not those who are politically motivated, not few people who make noise. Noise is different from lawmaking. And I always say, no matter what we did in the last 2 years, we went to retreat in Lagos, we went to retreat in Ibadan, everywhere. Those things were just mere consultations. The final outcome of what was amended happens in the plenaries. This has never happened since 1960. We have never had electronic transmission of results in any of our laws. We never even recognized the IRF in the 2022 Act. All those things are now there. And at the end of the day, more powers are given to political parties.
The number of days notice, which was earlier in the 2022 Act, 360 days. Now we have seen the wisdom to reduce it to 300 days. And this will inadvertently translate to holding the presidential and National Assembly elections in January 2027. And that will technically avoid conducting election during month of Ramadan of 2027. And I think this is another one piece of unity that the National Assembly has introduced to avoid voter apathy in the next general election.
So there you have it, the Speaker. But Jeffrey, does this maybe provide an insight, particularly what the President of the Senate said, that, well, the picture will be taken, and once there's internet, it's expected to upload?
That is very correct, which is why they shouldn't have given a proviso. But the proviso is there. It's now law. As you said, there is nothing anyone can do, just to be vigilant as far as it. So he's speaking, they're just speaking from both sides of their mouths. We could see that during the hearing, at least the open hearing, we didn't see the NCC to come and say, yes, there's a capability. We didn't hear INEC itself come to say we have the capability, but we have document by INEC. So
we lack the capability.
So we lack the capability. So, sorry for that. I keep referring to that position paper of 2021 that had INEC, NCC, and mobile network operators that alluded to the fact that 93% of polling units, those were their words, polling units had some form of internet connectivity, which is about 2G, 3G, 4G, whatever. And then they now decided to say MTN, Airtel, all the network, take different, more like mapping. You take this area, take that area, and then provide this, that, and the other. And it was, the earmark about 300 and something billion to that effect. So this is as far back as almost 7 years ago. So the issue of internet connectivity and broadband penetration is just political talk. With greatest respect to the president and the Senate president, we've passed that stage. So this for me is just using, grasping a straw to use as excuse to give a proviso that will give room for electoral fraud. Now, at face value, Kaide, it looks innocent. I'll listen to Mike Guinea. He said when we're using smart card readers, they provided for people that are physically challenged that don't have thumbprint, which is why it was elevated to bimodal, which is eye and thumbprint. He said he realized in one of the states he conducted election, all of a sudden, a lot of people in communities do no longer have their fingers anymore. And then the issue of incident was so. Kaide, the point is that provisos are always good as backup, but politicians now exploit that proviso to carry out electoral fraud from incident form to some of the things that are done for people that are physically challenged. That is why everybody's saying, since since beavers can operate online until you need to upload the result, because they'll say confirmed document. There's a 15 steps, there are 15 steps or so for you to be able to, upload from the INEC document. Different things you have to do, like 15 steps before you upload. But you must confirm that document. And if it goes, there's network. If it doesn't go, there will be no network. That means there's no network where you are. And I can tell you for a fact, from the documents we've seen and from what we know, significant majority of places in Nigeria, say 3 hours max or so, we should have election result that should almost determine outcome, if not for the shenanigans. Now, the law, the beautiful thing, and I agree with Senator Akpabi on this, that they've elevated. It's not as if there was no electronic transmission in our law. That is not an accurate statement. It's just that it wasn't an act of parliament. It was a subsidiary law by guidelines. And that argument, because the interpretation of the Supreme Court is also what brought the confusion. CBN regulates banks. CBN, how many times do you see banks and CBN go to court over laws and interpretation? It is powers, the law says CBN regulate banks. So CBN will sit down and look at what works for the banking sector. That is the same thing that happens. INEC decide how you want to run your election. They now bring out guidelines which are seen in law as subsidiary or delegated or inferior laws in that sense. So there has always been electronic transmission, at least from the last election, also even 2015, let's say to a last election. But now it's been elevated to an act of parliament, so it gives it more stature. So as far as this is concerned, I still stay where I was, Kade. As far as this is concerned, there was no need for that provisor. If we know beavers can operate the way it is geniusly designed, knowing our shortcomings, but you have to work with what is now available. So what is now left for you as Nigerians? I'll tell you. Number one, eternal vigilance. You need to be vigilant. There should not be any excuse. And I'm going to keep repeating this till the election for everyone who cares to listen. There is no reason why a polling officer, after everybody has signed and countersigned, should not snap that EC8A in your presence. It is now law. You must snap it, capture it, scan it, whatever word you want to use, before it leaves that place or wherever there is network. That is now the law. And now it is justiciable because it is, the law says the polling officer shall. So that means if we go to court now, that is going to be justiciable as well. Besides the issue of physical collation, which is also part of the process. Because when you go to the collation center, as we look at their disparity, we should be able to say, okay, what was captured on IRF that all of us have been able to see at the end of the day, so that we don't have issues. And this is where INEC needs to step up. We need to be final on the issue of INEC's own document. I'm happy that now the law says IRF documents belongs to INEC. It's not my father, my late dad, or me that put it there. It is INEC that put it. It's an INEC official that will snap it. So all of that viewing portal is still a viewing portal, but it now has the strength of law, IRF and electronic transmission of results. So all hope is not lost. Vigilance is eternal. Politicians will always, if you like, Kaide, if you like, make it more stringent. This law now, make it even more stringent. Remove the provisor, make it even more stringent. The politicians will look for a way to undermine the system.
And let's not forget the people that work with
So
them.
you have to work hard
Absolutely.
to stop them.
So
it's not as if it's Uhuru anyway.
Yeah, so there's the politicians, there's those who implement it for them, and there are people who willfully participate, either because of their socioeconomic status. Election day, all this English, election day is quite different.
It's a different
so that's why
ballgame
we
altogether.
keep telling people that, you know what, you have your responsibility as well. And looking at this, the record signing, I was looking through how long it takes President Tinubu to sign, bills. Last year, the tax laws, right? It took over a month for the president to sign it. Even recently, the Electricity Act that was amended again, it was passed last year. The president signed it this year. But the Electoral Act amendment was signed in record time, a day. So clearly, the game is on. But that's not all that happened.
No, just to add to what you said, Kadi, it had to be signed because there's an election coming up on Saturday. There's an election coming up subsequent.
And I think the reason we should probably have waited, because for this election on Saturday now, which will apply? It has to be the 2026.
So, no, it has to be this law.
Exactly.
So there is
how many days to the election?
The point is that there are not too many variations. It's just changing, like for instance, 360 to 300.
Doesn't apply for this.
Certain things that have been done already, like issue of only direct primary and consensus, which is another fraudulent system. Although it's well intended, but as I told you, politicians will look for a way. This gives opportunity for money back, so still hold on to the political parties themselves. So it has to be signed, because if it doesn't sign it as quickly as it should be, what will happen is that it will affect the timeline of the election. So we may have to just be running with the 2022
Let me rephrase
election.
that, Jeffrey. It had to be signed as quick as possible because this FCT election
is important.
Is a must-win.
Yes, for APC.
I believe that's also why it was signed so far. It's a must-win for the APC. I mean, you heard what the FCT minister was literally saying to the people that, you know what, if you vote for APC, I will do more projects in this
That's
place.
a politician talking. It's not a responsible statement in my view.
Because that's indicting.
Yes, it's a very irresponsible statement.
That's
from
indicting.
The greatest respect
because
to the
whether you vote for a party or not,
as long as you have won, you're
meant to. The project should be done.
So, as a matter of fact, there's a video we saw of a lawmaker in Benue State as well, who made a very reckless, irresponsible statement, although it's a political statement, that if you don't go and register for APC, even job opportunities, we've even seen it in some states in the South. And this idea, look at this. Let's watch, okay, maybe this particular video as well. Maybe let's take a listen. This is what we're talking about. So the area council elections, there are 6 area councils in Abuja, the FCT. Elections are this Saturday. But the PDP candidate has stepped down for the, for the APC candidate, brokered by Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Honorable Julius Adamu, the immediate personal speaker for area council, and now the PDP candidate for area council. I'm standing here before you this afternoon to tell you that I have gone into a deep consultation with the Honorable Minister of FCT. And I will have come to the conclusion that I and Joshua, we are brothers. And it will not be nice for 2 brothers to kill themselves over one reason. So as such, I have relinquished my support to Honorable Joshua. You see, Joshua, we are from the same world with Joshua. He served as a councillor from 2026 and removed him from office from 2019 to 2022.
So let me say, Kyle, let me say this. It is politically okay in Nigeria to do anything you want, but it is democratically, recklessly irresponsible and ludicrous for some of the things I see happening in our democracy. And this is me admonishing young people that some of the templates you're seeing by the political class, please, that is not democracy at all in any shape or form. Things like, I will do for you if you do this for me. Like the FCT minister has said to the people, I will do more. Well, he doesn't have a choice but to do for the people, because when you win an election, you have to do for the people. He doesn't have to. Now, I heard the Zamfara state governor complaining about he's not gotten some maybe intervention fund, while APC states are getting. Remember, we had a conversation with one Kano government official, and I pushed, I literally engaged him to say, what is the move about? Because this man will still win this election with our APC. He now talked about neighboring state having some intervention funds from federal government, but they don't have, so this will give them leeway. So it looks like economic interventions are partisan in that sense, and that is irresponsible of any government if it is found to be true. So this idea, I saw, I think, a video on our platform where I think the BOT chairman of the Nyesom Wike faction endorsing Alex Soti and President Tinubu. What kind of reckless, irresponsible democratic practice is this? So what I'm saying in essence, if you want to support the APC, go and join the APC. If you want to support the ADC, stay in the ADC. If you want to stay in the PDP, work for the PDP. What is this idea of surrendering a whole political party's candidate to all? And this is candidate. Two things may happen to the PDP if we're not careful. One is that they may not have a candidate. Two is that the Nyesom Wike group will likely produce a weak candidate if they are the ones that win eventually in the court. Three is that the candidate of their group will eventually, what do they call it now?
Endorse
President Bola Tinubu.
I think that's the game plan. We've seen it play out in the FCT.
It is irresponsible.
But I should just reiterate that whether the people of Buhari or any other area councillor that vote for the APC or not, projects must be done. The dividends of democracy must be delivered to them. It's not by how they vote. And I understand all of the gimmicks of politics, wanting to win and all of that, but that should not be the yardstick. And we should have gone past that for delivering the dividends of democracy, because you are called the leader of the area, not just the leader of those who voted for you. In any case, in that same area, you would have people that voted for you. So you're actually punishing them as well, in the manner of speaking, if you're not delivering the basics, by the way, and good governance. So while we keep watching what's going to play out in the FCT this Saturday, because a lot of people see that as a foretaste of what we will see during the coming elections, let us switch gears now and take a look at how the front pages are relaying all of these big stories from yesterday in a moment. Stay with us. All right, we're joined on the program by Mr. Ambrose Igboke, Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State, joins us virtually this morning. Mr. Igboke, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Well, if you look, through all the front pages, you know the story that will be the biggest. So let's just start right with the Vanguard newspaper. E-transmission of poll results can't replace manual. Tinubu signs amended Electoral Act 2026 into law. So, we've talked about that. It's been a build-up. Clearly, the conversation is not over. And you see, on page 10, INEC's position on e-transmission of election results. Is this from, the previous guidelines? Is this from a statement that has been made? I guess you just have to wait. But Mr. Igboke, it's now law.
While you and Jeffrey were talking, I was just saying that, systems, digital systems don't run themselves. It's still garbage in, garbage out. Or even the open AIs and chat GPTs of this world is what we impute, what you request it to do, that it will do. Last election, we saw where INEC openly admitted mutilated result sheets and told us to go to court if we feel pained. I was hoping to see a law that will make sure that when a paper is mutilated or cancelled or questionable, that such papers would not be admitted even to be counted. But we are seeing all kinds of things. We saw papers, result sheets that were used, correcting fluid were used to wipe out some numbers. We saw some cancelled and new numbers written, all kinds of things, yet they were accepted as, as result sheets. As you rightly observed in the studio earlier, systems don't run themselves, human beings too. So it is the Nigerian system. Our laws, we keep on saying that our constitution is one of the most worded constitutions in the world. Even Britain doesn't have a quarter of the kind of written words we have in our constitution. If upright people are to run our constitution, Nigeria will be one of the best countries in the world. So it is not about our laws most of the time. It's about the application of the law, implementation of the law, executing the law. By who? By the very people who want to manipulate the law. So that's the problem. And why do they manipulate the law? They do this because they know there are no consequences. There are no consequences when they do this. How many people have been jailed for electoral fraud? How many people? So it just fizzles out after each election. And after each election cycle, we come back and repeat the same thing. And those politicians are so bold to tell us all kinds of stories to bamboozle us. And they get us bamboozled. The majority of the masses get bamboozled. And that's why they have the effortry every election cycle to share maybe a wrapper, share some bottle of soft drinks, give you a little cash, and our people line up. When you even want to, when the first time the Senate passed this thing like 2 weeks ago, and when there was some demonstrations or protests, how many Nigerians turned up? We saw the old horses, even the one Mr. Peter Obi went to join. How many Nigerians? Just a motley of less than 100 people. So imagine if 1 billion Nigerians have turned up and picketed the National Assembly, for example. Imagine how they will shake. But no. The politicians in Nigeria are some of the smartest group of people in Nigeria. They know the Nigerian masses. They know the psyche. They know the psychology of the Nigerian masses. They know that the Nigerian masses, a critical mass of the citizens, are docile. They know that we pander to primordial sentiments like ethnicity, like religion, like party affiliation, blind followership, stupid loyalty. They know. And because they know, that is why they have the guts and effrontery to do these things. When I sit down and I hear what is happening to Mr. Starmer, the Prime Minister of Britain, about appointing somebody who knew that politicians will just wake up one day and hand over power and gift them power and authority. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. Everywhere you see democracy working is because over the years, be it 500 years, be it 1,000 years, be it 200 years ago, people fought for it. And that is why the political leaders are always afraid to manipulate any system because they know the consequences, because it is people power. But here, we have handed our people power to the rulers. Then we are not even doing anything to checkmate them or to be accountable for them. So we will continue this cycle, election in, election out. This year makes it exactly 27 years of civil rule. Some people have contested that what we will have in Nigeria is civil rule because democracy is consultative. Democracy is for the people, by the people, and for the people. That is not happening in Nigeria. Some group of people just sit down somewhere, treat us as if we don't matter, come out with these things, show me down our truth, and say whether you like it or not, take it. And some people go to where you're having something, people grumble, sit down, complain about one particular politician or public office holder. When they see the public office holder face to face, they will tell him it's the best thing that happened after agege bread was invented. So these are the problems we have: the psychophancy, stupidity, docility, blind loyalty, and that is where we are till tomorrow. And if we don't change as citizens from that, we shall continue being under political subservience. We shall continue to be political slaves in this country, and we don't matter because we don't want to matter.
Mr. Bukwe, that's why everybody has to keep. I'm trying to get to a particular portion of the Electoral Act, but I'll get to that. But let's go to the Guardian newspaper. The people at the Guardian always doing the yeoman's job. Great job here. 2027 credibility battle shifts to INEC as Tinubu signs amended Electoral Act. Is a page 6 read on the Guardian newspaper. Listening to former national commissioners and officials of INEC, they will tell you that sometimes the courts and INEC are some of our biggest problems, influenced by the political class. In fact, listening to one of the INEC commissioners say the case went all the way to the courts and all kinds of forms were displayed, which is why the law were trying to make sure that INEC has a burden of proof so that INEC can say this document belongs to us. The reason why some of us are insisting on electronic transmission, at least let's start with that before we even talk about real time or no real time, is to the effect that whatever is on IREV is not me that created it. It is INEC that put it there. So we use that as a reference point when we're collating in case there are discrepancies or disputes. Because they said they went to court, they saw all kinds of documents. INEC said, this is our document. The fraudulent individual said this is their own document, and the court, for whatever reason, sided with them. We've seen, I think in Kogi, where a pre-filled form, pre-filled EC8A was brought in. So these are the things that we're all trying to check, because politicians will always be politicians. Now, I think the penalty for false results is about 10 years in prison. But what do you make of the headline by The Guardian pushing this credibility battle on INEC and everybody that is the ancillary around them?
I think since after June 12th, where we had that famous election, the electoral body that time, I think it was I don't know the name it was called that time. I think MEC, headed by the late Professor Fremosu. I don't think that the other electoral bodies have anything to celebrate about from 1999. And that there's a problem. There's a fundamental problem with this election. First, starting from the appointment of the INEC chairman. I think that is where we all get it wrong. The INEC chairman is basically appointed just like ministers are appointed by the president. So he's an appointee of the president of the Federal Republic. So the ministers are appointed, board members are appointed, ambassadors are appointed, SFG is appointed, chief of staff is appointed. So for me, it's just like a political appointee as well. So who will he, pander to? Of course, he will pander to the person that appointed him. Though it's not supposed to be like that. But he will pander to the person that appointed him. So for me, going forward, we should look for a system where the appointment of the INEC chairman is insulated. And we kind of have a kind of independent body, maybe selected from different arms of government, and to ensure that it is an input by a collective body. But a situation where one person, at the pleasure of the Mr. President, an INEC chairman is appointed, then there's a problem. So we don't expect that INEC chairman. Look at the last INEC chairman. Or less than just 2 years after the election, he was appointed an ambassador. Some people have said, oh, is it for doing a yeoman's job? It's an ambassador designate today. So who insulates the INEC chairman from partisanship? Some INEC commissioners and national commissioners have been accused of being members of political parties. So we have a long way to go. We are not treating the fundamental. We are just being cosmetic about what these things are. And also, we are treating symptoms instead of treating the root cause of the malaise. We are treating symptoms. So if the president appoints INEC chairman, appoints INEC commissioners, resident electoral commissioners, all those things are appointed by political office holders. Between you and I, guess who they will support? Are they going to side with the people who didn't even have an input in the appointment? Do the Nigerian masses have input in the appointment? Even those we have input in the election, those who are in the National Assembly and some of the other people, how are they behaving? They'll talk less of people you don't even have a hand in their appointment. So this cycle of electoral irregularity will continue. Nigeria still have a very long way to go. We are not very ready for effective democracy. I think every 4 years we just go around the cycle, do something else. The only luck we have now is that we are at least they have not been able to break the will of the people in terms of sticking to the two-term arrangement. Somebody tried to do a third term, he didn't succeed. that would have been our doom, because we would have suffered what maybe some countries like Uganda are suffering, countries like Cameroon and other countries. But at least we still have a semblance of going to, changing leaders, even if it is by whatever means, whether we were the ones that voted them or not. But at least every 8 years, a leader must come and go. That is the this bottom line of what we are practicing today as a democracy. So there are structural defects that we need to face. All these other things, when we focus on the structural defects, then we were able to correct these things. But we are not looking at the foundation. We are rather looking at paints and some other decorations around the building where the structure itself is not very strong. So we should look at all those things. INEC that is saying that the court accepted this. How did INEC challenge that case, for example? Did they appeal it? Did they do some other things? So in most of our elections, INEC has been held culpable most of the times. Sometimes even denying a lot of things in court. And
let's quickly
sometimes
take a look at the New Telegraph. Pardon me, Mr. Igboke, because of time, so we can give full value to it as well. Quickly, leads with the same story. New Telegraph on Electoral Act now, 2026. But there was a tragedy in Plateau State yesterday. A lot of people may not have paid attention, obviously, because of the story around the Electoral Act and all of that. But you see, Plateau mining site tragedy. Suspected gas leak kills 37, 25 others hospitalized. Alake Seals Mine. And if you just look at Nigeria's map and the spread of the solid minerals we have in Nigeria, you see just how blessed the country is. Almost $1 trillion, and some say it's even conservative. But we've seen time and again that these incidents happen. Some linked to insecurity, this one linked to safety and all of that. Mr. Igboke, what do you make of this as we wind down?
Well, it's unfortunate and it's a preventable tragedy. Nigeria has, since just recently there was a court judgment on the mines at River Valley. Those people that were massacred in River Valley in the 1940s. The same problem that we had then is still what we are having now. The minister has got to seal the place. Why do we react always in this country? We don't want to prevent these accidents from happening. We don't want to prevent things from happening. We are not proactive. We are always reactive. You're going to seal mine. Tomorrow they will open the mine again. Life continues. And there have been too much of accidents that because there are no safety measures, these people, some of times that the illegal miners are everywhere. They are not controlled by the government, both at the subnational and the national levels. And so things are just Nigeria. The value of the life of a Nigerian citizen is being tossed around without any kind of value. And that is why people who own those mines will do whatever they want to do. People have died. They will open the mine very soon, and it continues. Every state in this country basically have solid mineral, and you don't want to know how much of this have been plundered by foreign interests who don't have regard for the lives of Nigerians. I think it's not enough to just go and seal this thing. We should come up with a document. We should come up with a policy that is enforceable about safety in our mines and proper compensation for Nigerian citizens working in those mines.
There you have it. Incidentally, that's our next talking point on the program this morning, just to ensure that we do not let this slide. We'll be speaking with someone in the know, the position of authority. But Mr. Igboke, we have to thank you for always giving your insight on these very important national issues. Thank you.
Thank you for having me this morning.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll turn our attention to that tragedy in Plateau State at the mining site where over 30 people were killed. What exactly played out? What are the safety measures to be put in place? How do we protect the mining sector and also the people themselves, more importantly? That's in a moment. Join us again.
Welcome back. While we try to get our guests to talk about the incident in Plateau State, which is a very sad development where persons have lost their lives just trying to get by in that mining exercise, we're trying to get the full story. But what we know is that we understand they were participating in that mining exercise, and in the process, there was a gas emission, and it was a toxic gas that led to the death of villagers who are just creeping off, literally. So I want to talk to the Miners Association as well as with the government of Plateau State, so the best of ability to see what the full picture is, what went wrong. But the federal government has actually swooped in to say, look, activities and that particular mining site stops pending when all investigations are properly sorted, which to me is the right thing to do. We're already dealing with banditry and all of the many things that associated with our country lately and for a very long time now in terms of insecurity. Now, this is just economic activity that has led to very disastrous outcome. So we must investigate to find out what exactly happened so that this doesn't occur anytime, any moment soon.
Absolutely, Jeffrey. And the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, yes, ordered the closure of the areas covered by the mining license, by the way, is 11810, right? And it is operated by a company known as Solid Unit Nigeria Limited, owned by, well, if you're in that area, in that business, you'll know a man called Dan China, Abdullahi Dan China, in Zurak, was a local government area of Plateau State. Now, it's quite interesting seeing at least the context given by the ministry spokesperson, Segun Tomori, on behalf, of course, the minister, saying that the area was an abandoned lead site with the stored mineral prone to emissions of sulfuric acid. Now, why did we have people mining there with what would look like, without safety measures put in place, gas monitoring systems, and all of the other precautions that you'd expect in a proper mining site? Well, the statement by the minister says that, the preliminary findings has it that that site was ceded, allegedly now, to the community by the company that owned the license following agitations by villagers for empowerment. Now, that is what the statement by the ministry spokesperson said yesterday, that, well, the company ceded that mine, something regulated, that regulated was ceded to the villagers as a result of agitations for empowerment. Now, let's put this in proper context, Jeffrey, and have the head of the Mining Association of Nigeria speak with us.
Let's bring in our guest, Ms. Dele Ayonleke. He joins us. He's the National President, Miners Association of Nigeria. Ms. Ayonleke, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
You know, we have read, we've heard. We would like to hear from you at least a premise of what you know had played out in that mining site, or at that mining site. We've heard from the federal government as to their position, first the action they took to make sure that no more lives are lost, perhaps further action to curb whatever has been emitted into the air. But what do you know, Ms. Ayonleke?
Thank you very much. I think we need to communicate first with the families of the deceased and the people and government of Plateau State as well, even Nigeria, because it's a national tragedy for our nation, because not only those lives that were lost, so many things were lost with those lives. I will communicate with ourselves and then also appreciate the minister for taking that action to ensure that investigations are carried out to ensure what actually happened and how we can prevent future occurrence. Immediately I had the news yesterday also, I spoke with our people on ground. I've spoken with the chapter chairman of Plateau, of our association, and has directed me to our local government leaders here as well. I've spoken with them as well. And the story that told me so far is not different from what has been reported in the papers, that those people who are working inside, they have taken all necessary precautions. But unfortunately, the gas leak came from behind them as a result of the gaseous nature of the minerals being extracted in that place. And so because of the fact that they don't have, like you just pointed out now, safety measures to prevent or to make sure that they were not adversely affected by that gas. That is what actually happened, and took away their lives.
So, how many people, by your record, did you hear have been affected so far?
Well, it's between 37 and 38. The earlier report claimed 38, but later we learned that there are still 37. I've not been able to speak directly with the chairman of that local government of our association, but I've spoken with those who are nearby, and they've confirmed to me also that 37 lives are lost. So, but I think the minister's team will give us a vivid account of what. I will also deploy my people there to make sure that we have a vivid account of the actual number of people that are affected.
So what do you think is a standard? Because I'm happy you admitted, or you reported, you just told us now that certain measures were not taken into cognizance in carrying out this mining exercise. We'll go back to how they even got to that place in the first instance. What was supposed to have been done? Was this, so for instance, I want to believe that mining, these things happen. If the proper things were done, what would be those proper things that were supposed to be done? What kind of gear were they supposed to be on?
Let us face one reality. Mining operation is a high-risk business, and we can only make sure that we cut down on the number of this kind of accidents. And what actually happened, I want to look at it from the point of what we need to do and what we have not been able to do. The government has been trying a lot to make sure there are enough regulatory reforms to ensure that mining is being done according to best practices. And also, they have been trying as much as also to curtail illegality that used to be the precursor to all these kind of accidents. The government has been doing a lot. But the government needs to do a lot more in terms of improving the capacity of the regulatory agencies. Take, for example, we need to go professional on this issue of mining. Big mining is just about to start in Nigeria, and we need to lay a very solid foundation for it, because this is just minor sites. All these things are happening. We need to go professional. We need to ensure that the secretary department of the ministry is well equipped with enough resources to ensure they have both logistics and human capacity. Take, for example, if there are professionals we have a lot of them in the ministry who are doing the oversight, this regular oversight, they should be able to detect all these hazardous incidences ahead of time and warn or do something that will prevent it from occurring. So this is all the area that we need to focus on. In other areas, government has been trying a lot. We need to confirm that. Every time we reform the policies to ensure that mining is done according to best practices. And also, you can also see the effort of the current minister, Honorable Dele Alake, even to the point of establishing a mining marshal to curtail illegality in mining operations. But then there's just that need that the human and logistic capacity of the regulatory agencies must be improved.
So I'd like to know, for mining activities that involve maybe lead, zinc, maybe even coal that has methane components attached, should there be work done without gas monitoring in place? Should there be, what is the minimum level of precautions that should be taken? And this is part of the conversation, so you help us know the standard.
Well, these minerals, they have different characteristics. Every mineral has its own peculiar characteristics. And like I told you earlier on, both the operators and the government, we need to add a lot of professional touch to what we are doing. I'm sure that if that company also has professionals, all these occurrences, they will be able to foresee it ahead of time and take measures to prevent it. So, that's why I said there's need to improve, because illegality in mining is not enough. Coming illegality in mining is not enough to prevent this kind of accident from happening. We just need to go professional. Companies also must be encouraged to employ professionals who will be able to detect all this ahead of time and take adequate measures to prevent them from occurring.
Just on a final note, sorry, like the statement by the minister says that the mining site was ceded to the community following agitations by the villagers for empowerment. Is that right, really? Because if you own a mining license, it is your duty, it's your responsibility to operate that mining license, because you're licensed based on what the government sought to be, well, your capabilities to handle it. So is it in order to cede it to people, villagers who may not have the prerequisite, equipment and all of that to handle it? Is that how it usually works, or this is a misnomer?
That system is not normal. I've not confirmed the rest of that claim, but if that is what happens, it is not normal. And we need to do a lot in terms of sensitizing and educating the community, the host mining communities, about this kind of agitation for community to cede part of their the land they have already consented to the company. For them to now ask for a portion for them to be mining when they don't have the professional wherewithal to do that. I think the best community can do is to make sure that community employs their indigenes, their youth, and there are a lot of empowerment program that is loaded in the community development agreement. All these things should be followed instead of asking a community to cede part of the land for the non-professionals, unskilled people to be mining there. If it is just alluvial mining, fine, but this one is going into the tunnel. How do you cede an offering that has gone to that level to community people who are not well skilled? It is not a normal thing, and if that is what happened, I think appropriate measures should be done. Should be taken to ensure that such things do not occur again.
We'll continue to keep tab on this development, but it's quite an unfortunate development and a sad one that we have to now record deaths that are technically avoidable if the right things were done. But we must thank you, Mr. Adele Ayonleke. Is the National President of the Miners Association of Nigeria. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, too. Good morning.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll switch gears. So another part of the conversation about a video that had gone viral, and a lady, to the effect that she suffered from insomnia and inability to sleep, so she tries to get tipsy at night to help her to sleep. At the end of the day, she found out that somebody abused her and was literally taunting, if you allow me to use that word. Well, we'll speak to the Ogun State Police Command on what they know and what you should know as far as that story is concerned. Stay with us.
Well, let's speak with the PPR of the Ogun State Command. We're joined by Oluseyi Babasheyi virtually on the program. It's good to have you on the program. This issue has been hogging the headlines on social media regarding the user by the name Mirabel on TikTok. Well, the video originated from TikTok. She posted and she detailed what she called her experience being allegedly sexually assaulted, raped actually, and she claims that the person who assaulted her, who raped her, sent her a message and all. Now, those were allegations that she put forward, and you would believe her, because why not? But then a lot of people have doubted her and have said, no, it's not true. They've tried to pick holes in her comments and her statement, which is why it's important to come to the authority, the police. You have begun investigation. What can you tell Nigerians about the case involving that young lady?
Presently, I'll give you a background to the case. That was during Thursday night. We established contact with the victim, the said lady, and after establishing contact with her, she said she was at Ibapo, around the Ibapo area of Ogun State, So the CP gave orders to the DPO in Ibako to communicate with her and get necessary information from her. And the necessary information we got from her, we found out that the incident happened at the Ogijo area of Ogun State, which is bordering Lagos from that area. So what happened was that when the DPO Ibako met with her, she came to the station. So he made sure he took her to the hospital for medical analysis. And she wasn't as stable as necessary, but we endeavored that investigation must continue, and for record purposes, she was taken down to the Ogijo police station for adequate documentation. And after the DPO debriefed her, we found out that she's not strong enough to start divulging facts to us. So she was taken to the hospital, and as we speak, she's in the intensive care unit getting appropriate care. So that's because her medical well-being is more important to us than every other thing at this point in time. If she's very well, we can now continue investigations and get the necessary facts to corroborate the allegations she made. And this will help us to get a logical conclusion on the case.
And it's quite concerning that she's in the ICU, as you say. What were your preliminary observations that warranted the police to say, well, for now, she has to go to the ICU, because you described her as unstable?
I think maybe she's going through trauma by the alleged experience, or she is having some breakdowns. So no matter how we want to get to the bottom of this issue, we need her to be stable, as any evidence we elucidate at this point may not be so cogent. So we are trying to work on her being stable, and the DPO of Ogijo is checking on her to see how she's faring, and this is part of our duties as police.
There are those who have outrightly said she's lying. They have said, well, we do not believe her, and I'm sure you've seen some of those analyses online. As an investigative agency, as law enforcement agencies, how do you approach issues like this, and how do you advise people to also approach it?
We advise people not to jump into conclusions based on their emotions to issues. What we as an agency, a law enforcement agency and an investigative agency, are on the matter investigating, not jumping to conclusions, because we know that most of us were not there when these things happened, the alleged incident happened. So we have to be so conscious not to assume to the otherwise, or to buttress it, or not until we can get evidences to corroborate those facts that are on ground. And if anybody has a contrary view, they can still visit the police, give us that contrary view, so that we can work on our identities and know and get to a logical conclusion on what is happening and what has happened.
Right. Have you been able to identify the alleged attacker who, she says, sent a message to her?
As I told you, the investigation is ongoing and everything has to be fixed for now. We can't jump into conclusions or share information that would jeopardize our investigations to the public. But I can tell you for a fact that the Ogun State Police Command is on it.
But can you tell us how many people are...
And it will get to a logical conclusion.
Right. But can you tell us how many people are being questioned at the moment? Have there been arrests made? I mean, largely speaking, without speaking specifically. Or is it just her that you're working with?
I can tell you for a fact that they have made invitations, and we won't divulge a lot of those facts for now until we get to a reasonable extent in our investigation. But we will keep the public abreast of our investigations, and when it is concluded, and we will surely establish connections with the public and give them the necessary facts to buttress what is before us.
So let's talk about the girl. How is she doing?
As I told you earlier on, she's in the hospital. She's undergoing treatment. As you know, she went through trauma So it is one of the first things. It's part of first aid and continuous aid to get her to be optimum as a person before we now ask more questions and get more answers on on our investigation.
There are nuances. That certain statement I understand she made that raises a lot of concern from people that maybe she has to be on some kind of a suicide watch. Is this something you guys are also looking at?
We for now we know she's a concerned person, and that's why we told you that we are watching her in the hospital, that care, and that is the necessary thing we can do as the police we are.
I don't know whether I missed it, but has anybody been taken into custody? Has anybody been traced yet? Who and where are you looking at now?
We are looking at unraveling the circumstance that happened, and in that, our investigations are ongoing. And when due time, we'll give updates on it. But what we are trying to dispel is that there's an allegation online that the police arrested her. She was not arrested by the police. She had a case and reported at the police station, and we are investigating it. And nothing of such as people claim that she was arrested as seen on the social media.
Well, just before we let you go, this is a matter of national importance, a matter that, is very important to the society as well. There are two ways this can swing, right? And I want you to walk us through the possibilities. Once your investigation is concluded, it's either she's telling the truth, right, based on what she said and her experience, or not. So what are the two routes if she's found to be telling the truth and if she's found to not be telling the truth? What are the implications?
And generally, if she's the perpetrator will be arrested and charged to court appropriately. If it's to do otherwise, as you know, the law goes against giving false information, and that can make anyone who gives false information culpable.
Well, we have to thank you. I understand this is an ongoing investigation, and we appreciate you speaking with us. We know that the Lagos DVA is also set to be collaborating with authorities in Ogun State to ensure that we unravel this issue and ensure that we protect everyone. We've been speaking with... Sorry, say that again, please. All right. We'll be speaking with DCP Oluseyi Babasheyi, PPRO Ogun State Command. Thank you for your time. And of course, we'll be in touch with you to ensure that we fill Nigerians in on the developments. Thank you and wish you the very best. Well, take a moment now, and when we return, we have more for you on the program. Stay with us.
Well, let's talk about what has played out. The APC had its ward congresses all around the country yesterday, but it did not come without its own share of controversy. In fact, in certain places, chaos and violence. And so let's bring in our guest, who is a member of the APC in Ondo State, Mr. Shola Ajisafe. He joins us virtually. Mr. Ajisafe, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, there are different versions of the same event, depending on who you're speaking to. So what we heard the first time was the effect that the members were holding their stakeholders meeting. This was not even the day of the World Congress, the eve of the World Congress, if you will. And the chairman of the party was in that particular venue. And then, boom, certain persons, according to the report, members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers came, invaded, and assaulted violently the people. That certain people are now hospitalized. Now, that is a sketchy picture we have. What the intention is depends on who you're speaking to. That's why we brought you to give us maybe all sides of the story and what your position is.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. It was a fact that the so-called meeting, that meeting, was slated by the Congress committee sent from Abuja. Earlier on Monday, there was a meeting with the state chairman and the representative of the governor. I was not in that particular meeting. But in the afternoon, I was there when one of the Congress committee who came from Plateau State, one Mr. Chitu, came in, and I was the one who received him. And we even took him to his hotel in Ijaku. And we were informed that the meeting in the morning has said that the members of the party, extended members of the party, should meet by 12 o'clock on Tuesday. That was the meeting we were in. We were waiting for them. I was one of the first callers to the meeting. But unfortunately, instead for us to get the people from Abuja to come and talk to us, we received hoodlums sent by Mr. Governor. The governor of Ondo State procured these people because it's in his character. Send them to the place and all hell was let loose. The chairman was beaten to a pulp. I was beaten to a pulp. You can see my walking stick. I'm still a young man, but I'm using a walking stick now. Was beaten to a pulp. A lot of people were. The former chairman of Okigbo Ilaolu is struggling with his life currently now. Another person, Success, who was a former member of the Ondo State House of Assembly, is totally in the hospital currently, and many other persons. These people, we know them. These people, we understand them. These people are members of this society, and many of them are members of the transport union. Aside from that, many of those who led them to the place, some of them are members of the Ondo State House of Assembly. Some of them are members of aides of the governor of Ondo State. We were there together. I was there. I was pointed to like this, and they took me and they beat the hell out of me. So if anybody is giving any other story, like what the governor was saying, that those people that fought were fighting, it was a disagreement between aspirants. Which aspirants? Who are those aspirants? Did they call a meeting for aspirants? No.
Well,
the meeting was called by the Congress committee that was sent from Abuja.
Well, Mr.
Now let's look at it.
If I can come in quickly, you have made very strong allegations against the governor, and you also referred to his own response, saying that, and in fact, I'm going to quote him word for word now, that he got to know that some miscreants who had sympathy for one aspirant or the other, those who were contesting for one position or the other, were moving around and trying to create some kind of fracas among themselves, which led to some disturbance. He went on to say that he's asked the Commissioner of Police to ensure that the place is protected and all of that. So the governor said, well, I don't know anything about this, but why do you insist that this is from the governor? Those are strong allegations. You have some evidence that points to that.
Let's take it in context. How can the governor of a state, who is the chief security officer, whether titular or whatever, chief security officer, claim that he does not know what was happening in his state? A matter that he discussed with the chairman of the party, a matter that is aware of, a people that he received, a meeting that he sent somebody earlier, a day previous to. How could he have said that? you can see that these are lies.
No,
And
his
if he's
words.
saying,
I don't think his knowledge is about the event itself. It's about the attack and the attackers, that he got to know that those miscreants.
Mr. Moderator,
So the point I'm trying to make is
Moderator.
he was speaking to the attack, not the event, just to clear that out. But please go on.
Now, let me tell you, in respect of the event, Mr. Lucky Oribesa Ayedatiwa has a history of violence. When Akeredolu died and he was buried, and the president wanted to come and visit, aspirants who were contesting with him for the house, he was an aspirant then, wanted to come and pay, and their supporters wanted to come and welcome the president. They did not allow anybody. They destroyed all the billboards of these aspirants along the airport corridor. They beat up supporters of these aspirants, that of Wale Akitarewa, that of Oke, and that of Jimo Ibrahim. They chased them from the junction up to Baba Fachoranti house and the school of Agric. I was around, I was there. And when the issue happened, he deflated. That's the usual, the same set of people he used during that period, and the same set of people he's using now. We are not just new, we are not new in Ondo State. And someone like me, I'm not new in this business. I know it, I've been around. We know how congresses are conducted in Ondo State. There's no perfect system. We are not asking for a perfect system. But to say that he was not aware is a lie from the pit of hell. He lied. And if he's saying that, then that means his capacity and his responsibility. He has charged his responsibility as the chief security officer of Ondo State. If you know you cannot lead the people, then why are you the governor? You have a responsibility to protect the people. Don't you have a security people that give you information? So for the governor to be telling us that he doesn't know, is wrong. He knew these people. They have been working for him. He installed them. As a head of the transport union. They worked for him during the campaign. It was inside that hall. I saw these people. I know them. I was inside that hall. It was inside the hall. They pointed to me, and they took me on, and they beat the hell out of me.
So if I may ask,
telling Nigerians that he doesn't know.
What do you think is in? Because now it's an allegation against the governor, which you're trying to say is behind it based on history. That is your position. The government will respond for themselves, but we just needed to put it out there that this is an allegation. What do you think is the intention here? If we accept it without conceding that indeed what you're saying is correct.
Can you repeat your question?
I was wondering, what do you think, accepting without necessarily conceding, because it's an allegation, the government to respond for themselves. What do you think is the intention? What do you conclude, or are you contemplating to be the intention here for this attack?
The intention of Mr. Lucky Oribesa Ayedatiwa is known to him. But by history, by what we know currently, he is afraid. He has a belief that somebody somewhere is about to take his position, even though the Constitution has made it very clear that he cannot recontest. This man has no intention of ensuring that Nigerians, Ondo State people, vote for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And here is somebody in the person of the Minister of the Federal Republic representing Ondo State, Tunji Ojo, who is doing so very well, who has mobilized a lot of support groups, and this was what was giving him headache.
So Mr. I would like you to speak in plain terms. So since you're not speaking in plain terms, without putting words in your mouth, so I would like maybe a yes or a no, or you properly contextualize. Are you saying
yes,
that the governor Ayedatiwa is worried that maybe someone else is trying to take over the structure of the political party in the state that may jeopardize whatever his future ambition is. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. That is the point. That is the point.
And is that true?
And if you look at it.
And is that true?
See, my brother, in politics all over the world, and particularly in Nigeria, and more particularly in Ondo State, it's a contest of ideas and interests. No one should have the total esco. And if you look at the issues that have led to this, was it not the governor that went to Abuja to collect the forms, and the other party did not have forms until the other party was able to get his own set of forms? Was it not the same governor that prevented, that asked all he is? They have written the names of everybody from the lowest in each of the wards. And they have written these names. Ordinarily, when it happened during the time of Akeredolu. You come together and you align, you discuss,
right.
It's a give and take. But this situation is afraid, it's not ready. And when he discovered, that was the reason why the convention committee came and set up the meeting so that they can align. But unfortunately, the convention committee too have been compromised by the governor.
Okay, so Mr. Chishofe,
they were the people who set up the committee. They did not come.
Right.
They did not come for the meeting at the appropriate time. The thing was it was violently disrupted. But later in the evening, by 6:30 to 8 o'clock, they came back without asking for the chairman and those of us that were brutally manhandled. Many are
maybe we should.
One manner of people.
And would like to see the police investigate this and come up with their findings, arraign those responsible. Let us really see the police work on this one. But let's speak in plainer terms, if we can. Are you essentially saying that this is a battle, in a manner of speaking, between the governor and the Minister of Interior?
It's between Ayedatiwa and himself. Let me give you this. That's why the fact that they believe, because when those people entered the hall 3 days ago, I was there. I was manhandled. When they entered the hall, they were shouting, "Hey, the governor is talking. Who is BTO? Who is talking? Who is this? Why must they have a meeting? This thing." They disrupted it. Then in the evening, he came. He came with this so-called convention committee and had his own meeting without the chairman and other members of the party. For God's sake, we built this party in this state. Ordinarily, you should allow the
Mr. Chishofe, I think your points are well noted. We would expect the response from the government or the people on the other side as far as it's concerned. But politics should not be a do or die affair. We understand it's a zero-sum game the way it's played in Nigeria. But as you guys will always say with greatest respect, is a family business. It's a family thing. So I'm sure as a family in the APC, there'll be a way to resolve this. But I must thank you for coming, and we empathize with you over the injuries you've sustained, and we hope this will be sorted amicably at the end. Shola Ajisafe is a member of the APC in Ondo State. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
We're not done with politics. We'll take a break. And when we come back after this break, we'll continue to talk national politics beyond Ondo State. Stay with us.
welcome back to the program. So much talk about the Electoral Act, electronic transmission, the proviso, what's happening with the notice. So yes, we must talk about the laws, but we must also talk about election management, managing the process, managing the people, ensuring that whatever law we have, we're able to at least implement it well, so we have a process that we can all be proud of. So this morning, we're trying to, look beyond all of the noise. Yes, we'll pay attention to those conversations, but also elevate that conversation. We're joined on the program by management consultant, political commentator, Owodunni. Joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Morning, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I must also tell people that you're a councillor in Kitchener, in Canada. I remember then that the president celebrated you since 2022, actually.
Yes.
Councillor.
Yes.
We have FCT area council elections this weekend coming up. Does it bring back memories?
Some of the headlines.
Right. Does it bring back memories about your own build-up to elections and all of that?
Yes, absolutely. And interestingly, elections are coming up again in 2026. Absolutely. So the build-up has begun already ahead of our election in October. But it's always interesting. There's a lot that happens during the election period leading up to it. Parties are looking to influence. Parties are looking to ensure the right candidate is there. People that have probably created loyalty over a period of time, people they can trust and all of that. So there is so much that is happening behind the scenes that by what comes to the media, what shows up at the media is not necessarily everything. It's just a little bit of everything else that is taking place behind the scenes. So it's always interesting when I have conversations with people. People have no idea what else is going on behind the scenes. A few years ago, or last year actually, I ran for MP in Canada, which is equivalent of Senate, and I had a chance to see, the back and forths that take place within the party, and it's not your turn, you need to wait for someone else. I actually experienced
even
that.
There.
Yes, so I need to let people know it happens all over the world where you're told it's not your turn, you wait.
So there's Emiloko in Canada as well.
I did not say that, but absolutely.
In a manner of speaking.
Yes.
But the build-up to this law being signed has been very controversial.
Yeah.
In fact, the aftermath may be more controversial than the build-up in itself. And I mean, you're involved in policy making. In fact, you wanted to elevate to the Senate as well. You understand how tough it is to manage the yearnings of people. It's always divided. People do not agree outside and inside. But for the Senate, the Nigerian Senate, and for the president, they believe they have done the right thing. But a lot of people still think having electronic transmission and manual transmission in the same sentence doesn't quite take us to where we ought to be just yet. Maybe to ask you, is it electronic or manual transmission for you in Canada?
Well, I will say this. Let me point out a few things. There are a few countries that currently still stick with the manual. Canada at the federal level does still stick with manual. There are several other countries that do that. At the city level, at the municipal level, over about 200 cities thus far have decided to start going the other routes, but the federal are still concerned about cybersecurity and several other things, so they have not gone in that direction. And there are still concerns of people feeling that this could be manipulated, numbers could be changed. So even in Canada, that is still an issue. But when you think of countries like Brazil, the United States, they've found a way to push and have electronic transmission of results. But there are other countries that are still challenged and are still holding back, waiting for others to take the lead on it, go through all the issues and concerns, and then they can decide. In fact, Germany, as far back as 2009, now this is not necessarily transmission of results, but e-voting, decided that they were not going to go that route anymore. So there are several countries that are still trying to battle and figure out the right way to go about this, because you have the Gen Zs who are ready to vote and have no issues with this, but then you have older people that are still trying to understand how the system works. If I click on it online, did it actually go? If this is being tabulated, did it work? So there is still so much that is taking place. I feel it's a step in the right direction, what has been done. It might not be exactly where people want it to be, but it's not where it used to be. It's a step in the right direction. Conversation needs to keep happening. Challenges from different sectors to ensure, from the media as well, to ensure that those areas that people are still concerned about, especially the electronic transmission, where there's no internet or whatever it is, that can be reviewed over a period of time. But it is a move in the right direction. I think the conversation we need to be having is more about the ethical will of the people. And what I mean by ethical will of the people is, regardless of what laws are in place, if the people don't have the ethical responsibility to do the right thing, people will always find loopholes, regardless of what you put in place. So if you put in results, if you put in electronic transmission of results, someone will find a way to work on it and make changes. If you say it's thumbprints and we're going to manually count it, someone will find a way to influence that as well. So we must ensure that the moral will of the people, those voting, those counting, those monitoring, all of that has to be changed over a period of time as well.
So, at the core is a lack of trust. All of these conversations now, the difference perhaps between the Western climes and here, the challenges sometimes are similar, but the safeguards, the guardrails are a lot more improved upon. What I mean by that is the institutions here. Our institutions are dealing with crisis of confidence, from the legislators to the judiciary, to places like agencies like INEC and all of that. In fact, in Nigeria, as soon as you say you are a politician, the average Nigerian has already tagged you corrupt and a thief. In Nigeria, as a politician, is different. In our law assumes you're innocent, presumption of innocence, and then you have to be proven guilty. But as soon as you become a politician, you're already guilty of corruption and you're a thief. You have to walk yourself out of it. That is the perception. So that's why you see all of these pushbacks happening across board. So comparatively, when you look at what is going on there and what we've done so far, because it looks like a 50-50, because if you look at the law, collation is still physical. Collation is still physical. No matter which you look at, whether it's the Senate version or the House version, collation is still physical. The argument is about transmission of from EC 8A. So when you look at both sides, where do we start from building confidence in the people, the electoral process? The reason I said that, there's a document that shows that 77% of Nigerians are interested in voting in this election, apart from the fear of insecurity, which is about 46%. Now it looks like everybody wanted electronic transmission, and this has happened. We've gotten electronic transmission, but with a proviso, and so we're also worried again about voter turnout. So where do we start to rebuild confidence?
I do want to point out that over in Canada, the voter turnout is somewhere between, let's say, 20 to 25%. At this point as well, at the local level. And then the numbers rise, but not significantly when you get into the federal level as well. So it is not perfect, just as well. Anywhere, it's not perfect. There are people that once they hear I'm a politician as well, their face changes, the walls go up, and there must be corruption. I remember I had a meeting in my constituency once, and we were talking about some building that was going to be going up. I was meeting with the constituents. Now, these were Canadians born and raised in Canada. And one of the questions was, so how much did they pay you off? And I remember laughing, what are you talking about? And, how much did they pay you off? So there is an assumption that every politician is corrupt, even over there. But with that said, there's so much that can be done. Number one, we need to start worrying about the infrastructure aspect of things that can ensure that there is internet that is provided in all these places, and whether it is in Maiduguri or somewhere in Ikeja, Lagos, when those results are being uploaded, the internet is available to be able to upload those results as soon as possible to the INEC portal. So that is there. Then there is what can we do to help ensure that we are building the right set of politicians for the future? We go through trainings on a regular, consistent basis, whether it is how do you address the media, how are you having the right conversations, how are you connecting with your constituents. We have people that hold us accountable at that level as well. So you're an elected politician, but your competence level is being built on a regular basis because people want competent people in the right places. Number one, people want people that can connect with them and empathize with them. People want people that are able to listen to them and understand the needs of the community and understand the heartbeat of the community as well. And we get trained on that on a regular basis. So if we can build the right politicians, if we can build people that can communicate properly with their constituency, transparency goes up. People are paying more attention. One of the things that I love to do is after every time we have our meeting at council, I would ensure that I'm recording a video where I'm talking about, hey, this was the conversation that we had. This was some of the things. This was some of the challenges. And I hear directly from constituents, whether they're emailing me or they're responding to the video directly. Those types of things increases, confidence in your elected official.
Do they
yes, they abuse me too. So they don't think
there's something that crossed my mind just now. Maybe just an outlier question. The issue of, because again, we also see all kinds of practices. This is not necessarily about the Electoral Act. Do they defect like the defect here as well?
Somebody defected yesterday. Yes, in fact,
the frequency our own is an avalanche, literally. I'm not even in UK. What's his name now? The deputy to our sister in the UK, the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch. He has gone to I think Robert Jenrick has gone now to Reform UK. That's Nigel Farage's party. So we're not saying people don't defect, but here it's an underscale. So that's what I'm asking. We're doing comparative analytics.
Defections do happen over the past few months. I would say, if my numbers might be wrong on this, I believe about 4 members of the Conservative Party have defected to the Liberal Party. Now, in my opinion, this is unprecedented. This is something that rarely happens. So the fact that 4 have gone over and 1 just went over again yesterday, which the Liberal Party are 1 individual away from being a majority party. So I'm sure they're also doing some hustling behind the scenes to try to get some people. There are many reasons why people defect. There are many reasons. Of course, there is it's easier, or I get access to funding better, or whatever it might be that they're looking at, or I get loyalty with this party over a long period of time, or I just don't like the party leader, and that's the reason why I'm going across. But as I mentioned, it's unprecedented that 4 have gone over in the past few months.
That's just a joke.
It's very different.
if it happens like that, we're not going to complain about it. As his record numbers
You have to look at our population. Maybe it's a function
You
of
also
population.
have to look at the population.
I'm playing the devil's advocate, but
I'm saying this because we need to also remember that democracy in Nigeria is still at its infancy stage. We're still in the learning stage. We're still in the growth phase. We cannot compare ourselves to democracies that have been around for hundreds of years, that have gone through a lot of issues and concerns, and also protect themselves whenever they're going through those issues, because the fights are internal. You will not hear about it outside as well. In Nigeria, when anything happens, we broadcast it everywhere and say, see what is happening to us, which creates a negative image on the outside. So there are those challenges that also have to be put in play. So it's something that we do need to remember. I'm not saying these conversations are wrong. They're important. They are needed. We have a step in the right direction. It is not perfect. That people are not happy about that because of the concerns that come with it.
Right.
We need the politicians to listen, to pay attention, and keep the conversation going and make those amendments as needed and as quickly as possible.
Fantastic.
Our growth is being televised live in that sense. I mean, they grew during the time where you didn't have internet.
Exactly.
You didn't have.
Exactly.
So ours, we're streaming it live
with
across
social media.
Social media. But I am very interested in your interpretation or your assessment, really, of politics, governance in Nigeria. So, I mean, for you, it's a federal province and municipal.
Yes.
So it's almost like ours as well, federal, state, and local government. But I see the responsibilities on your table. I mean, you literally manage a city, the infrastructure, and all of that. When you look at local governance in Nigeria, how much of missed opportunities do you see? If you are a local government official in Nigeria, what kind of work would you be doing? Or what kind?
You're trying to get me in trouble, Kai.
No, I'm just saying, what are you doing now that you could be doing here in Nigeria, if you get what I mean? At that level, local.
You know, from the minute the plane lands, you see things differently, first of all, once you're at that level, because the decisions that you're making is affecting how much people are paying in terms of taxes, it's affecting their paycheck, it's affecting the infrastructure, the roads, asset management, so many things. So you start to see things very, very differently. And honestly, I am grateful for the opportunity that I've had, and you know, the people in the city of Kitchener giving me an opportunity to represent them. Down to, first of all, I think it's important that we talk about, or we ask ourselves this question: are we holding our local leaders accountable as much as we're holding our federal leaders accountable? Are we putting a spotlight at local level as much as we're putting a spotlight at the federal level?
And we usually do this quiz. Who's your local government chairman? I can bet you majority of people do not know. But clearly, who's the president? Everybody knows. Everybody should know.
Beyond that, what laws were passed last month? Beyond that, what was the conversation? Our conversations are televised live on TV at the local level.
Yeah, I see you post consistently. Join the link.
Join the link because it helps with accountability. I'll give you an example. There was one point we were looking to implement a new law around Airbnbs. We wanted them to be better regulated because people were complaining.
At the local level?
At the local level. We regulate them, not the federal. We regulate them. So we were looking at, okay, what laws can we put in place to regulate them? We need people to check. Maybe we need to increase the taxes, you know, all of those types of things, because we need to hire people that will go and do the actual regulation and checking in on those things. And then we had business owners that came in on the day that we're making the decision, probably about 30 of them. Now, remember, this is at the local city level. And they started to share from their experience. Hey, if you increase the taxes, this is how it's going to affect me. If you increase the taxes, this is what the bottom line will look like. And they started to share their stories, started to share challenges. And do you know what we did? We canceled that rule that day and said, you know what? Maybe this is a bit premature. Maybe we're trying to move too fast. Maybe we've not engaged them as much as we need to have engaged them. So let's step back. Let's engage the insurance companies. Let's engage these business owners. And then maybe a year, 2 years from now, we will come back and then look at this and say, is this a conversation we want to have? How do they know we were making those decisions that day? Because you know, the media pays attention to what is happening locally. The media is highlighting what we're doing locally, and
that's
the media
local media.
Local media is highlighting that. So, what can we do to ensure that our local newspapers, if we still have them and they still exist, our local media, if they're paying attention and they exist, and they're putting those news out there, are they highlighting some things that are taking place at the local level? Because the local is the closest to the people.
Yeah.
The local is the one that a decision is made, or a decision is not made, it affects you right away. Where I live, there is a hole in the middle of the road, and it has been there for 3 years. And I'm wondering, like,
where you live, where?
In Lagos.
Okay.
There's a hole. There's a hole in the middle of the road.
Like a pothole or something?
There's a pothole.
Maybe it's a tourist attraction. I know something to want to plant a tree there.
And there's like a tire to let you know that there's a hole there, and it's been there for 3 years.
3 years.
And I'm wondering, you know, at night when you're driving, the street lights are not working. That is the local leader's responsibility. But the question is, there is a budget line attached to that. There is someone responsible for that. It's actually somebody's KPI to ensure that that is fixed.
So I think the natural question is, like how they said, attention to local government is very low. In fact, the president is fighting hard to even get their monies to them as we speak. The judgment of the Supreme Court has been implemented. The governors are still saying it's a constitutional issue. How do we elevate local government conversation from where you sit?
We need to bring in more local government chairmen. What is your plan for your local government over the next 4 years? What did you accomplish in the last 4 years? Let's put your promises from, you know, your previous election, juxtapose it right next to what you have done. I had someone from my constituents send me an email and said, Ayo, 3 years ago, challenges I faced to accomplish. I said I was on the outside looking in when I made that promise. When I entered, all the complexities that were involved. I was not aware of those things, but it was such a good conversation, because it was a disappointed constituent that reached out and said, I am holding your flyer from 3 years ago, and this is what you said you were going to fix. You have not fixed it yet. What is your plan to fix this before the next election? And I guarantee when the next election comes back, when I go back to those doors and I have a conversation, they're going to pull up my promises, because it's online, it's recorded.
We'll get there.
We need the media to help out. We need the media to educate the people. We need the media to remind people of their responsibility as well, to check in with their local governments on some of these key things.
And that is why we're having this conversation.
Absolutely.
So our prescription, and I use that word advisedly, prescription as a medication, is that you cut this clip and share it with people so they begin to understand how important local government is. He replied a mail from his constituent. That's accountability. That's transparency. Have you tried to send
That's responsibility.
That's responsibility. So that's a prescription. Twice a day. Make sure you send it to 2 people a day. We have to thank you so much, Owodunni, for the insight. It's always a pleasure having you on board. And I think that this is something we'll do consistently with you and across board. We've been speaking with Owodunni, Councillor Ward 5, Kitchener, right?
Yes,
in
absolutely.
Canada.
Yes.
Amazing work. And he's also management consultant, political commentator, obviously someone who's interested in home as well. It's good to see, and we must commend you for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.